You're standing on the first tee. The morning dew is, still clinging to the fairway grass. The air is perfectly quiet.
Oh, yeah, and your heart rate is already ticking up.
Exactly. I mean, in your hands, you're holding a piece of equipment that is engineered to absolute perfection.
But your mind is just racing.
Right. You're scanning the tree line on the left, the fairway bunkers, that massive water hazard looming down the right side. You take a breath, you swing, and
And it is not the perfect shot you pictured in your head.
not even close. You immediately start criticizing your grip, your backswing, your hip rotation. But what if I told you that chasing that perfect physical swing is exactly what's holding you back?
It's a huge trap.
It really is. So, welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission here is to unlock the hidden intelligence of elite golf. We are not here to, fix your grip or tell you keep your head down.
No, definitely not.
We're here to transform how you think. Because golf becomes significantly easier when you finally understand how elite players actually think.
It really is a complete shift in perspective. I mean, as a performance educator, my goal is to show you that elite performance isn't about becoming some robot who never makes a mistake.
Right.
It's about building a mental framework that actually absorbs mistakes.
Right.
Once you make that shift, you start playing an entirely different game.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the foundational idea we are diving into today completely redefines what it means to be good at golf. The core thesis here is that golf is not a game of hitting perfect shots.
Exactly. It is fundamentally the art of managing imperfect shots.
Managing imperfect shots.
Yes, that is the baseline of professional tour-level performance.
Yeah.
If you watch the best players in the world, they are not out there executing flawlessly on every single swing.
They really aren't, are they?
Not at all. I mean, they hit it off the toe, they misjudge the wind, they pull it left. They are just incredibly skilled at predicting, managing, and placing those imperfections so they don't destroy their scorecard.
Which means managing imperfection has to start before you even write down your first score. Like, let's go back to that first tee box. There is this massive trap that so many of us fall into.
Oh, the three-wood trap.
Yes. We look down a tight fairway, we panic, and we leave the driver in the bag. We grab a hybrid or a three-wood because we tell ourselves, I'm just going to play it safe and hit the fairway.
Right.
But the modern analytics completely destroy that logic, don't they?
They really do. The data shows that amateurs do not hit their three-woods or long irons significantly straighter than their drivers.
Which is just, that's wild to think about.
It's completely counterintuitive, but it's true. The dispersion...
That's the spread of the shots, right?
Exactly, the mathematical spread of where your ball ends up.
Yeah.
That dispersion is remarkably similar between a driver and a three-wood. So you take a three-wood, thinking you're guaranteeing safety, but all you've really done is leave yourself a much longer approach shot into the green.
From the exact same level of inaccuracy.
Precisely. You're still in the rough,
Yeah.
but now you have a 5-iron in your hand instead of an 8-iron.
Oh, man, that hurts to hear. So to understand this, we have to look at the golf swing differently. We usually think of a golf shot like a sniper rifle. You are trying to fire a single highly precise bullet at one specific blade of grass.
Which is impossible.
Right, because the reality of biomechanics is that your swing is actually more like throwing a handful of gravel.
I love that analogy.
You are launching a wide pattern of possibilities. So instead of a sniper rifle, you have to think of your shot as a big, messy splatter.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. Elite players call this a dispersion pattern. They don't picture a single line to the target. They picture a wide oval of where the ball could potentially land based on their historical tendencies.
But let me push back on this for a second.
Sure.
If I know my swing is a handful of gravel, right? If I know my pattern is wide and unpredictable, shouldn't I be terrified of pulling the driver out of the bag? It's the longest club, which means the gravel spreads out the furthest.
You would naturally think so. But this is where course management separates the amateurs from the pros. If the hole in front of you has available width between the absolute worst trouble areas.
Like out-of-bounds stakes or deep water?
Exactly. If there's width between those, the driver is almost always the mathematically smartest play. Your goal isn't to thread a needle with a single bullet. Your goal is to take that entire gravel splatter and position it in the safest, most valuable area on the map.
Okay, so if I'm visualizing this right, I'm basically taking a giant hula hoop that represents my messiest shots, and I'm just like dragging and dropping that entire hoop into the widest part of the fairway and rough as far down the hole as I can get it.
Precisely. If you can advance the ball as far as possible while keeping the edges of that hula hoop away from a penalty stroke, you are mathematically gaining an advantage.
Wow.
Good strategy off the tee actually feels incredibly aggressive.
Okay, so I've aggressively blasted my driver. I accepted my messy pattern. Now I'm walking up the fairway, getting closer to the green. But the available safe area is shrinking dramatically.
It is.
I can't just be aggressive anymore, right?
Exactly. This is where the geometry of the game demands a complete flip in your strategy. Off the tee, you use width aggressively. But on the approach shot, intelligent golf becomes much more conservative.
And this is where instinct completely betrays us.
Oh, 100%.
Because what do you do when you are 160 yards out? You pull out your laser rangefinder, you zap the flag, and you aim right at it. It feels like the only logical thing to do.
But there is a hard mathematical rule here.
Right. The longer the approach shot you have, the farther away from the edge of the green your target should actually be.
Because you have to remember your hula hoop. If you have a 6-iron in your hand, your dispersion pattern is wide. If you aim the center of that pattern at a flag that is tucked 3 paces from a water hazard, half of your potential shots are now sitting underwater.
Half of them. Here's where it gets really interesting. If we are moving our target away from the flag, we have to make a profound psychological shift.
We really do.
When you stand over the ball, your brain is usually screaming, "Don't hit it in the water! Don't hit it in the bunker!" You are just obsessed with avoiding disaster. But to play elite golf, you have to stop asking, "Where do I not want to go?" and start asking, "Where do I want to place my shot pattern?"
It changes the entire framing from fear-based avoidance to positive placement.
Positive placement. I love it.
But positive placement requires objective data. You cannot place your pattern effectively if you don't actually know how far the ball is going to travel.
Yeah.
And nothing, nothing messes with that distance calculation more than wind.
Oh, wind is a nightmare. I feel like most of us just toss some grass in the air, guess feels like a one-club wind, and just hope for the best.
It's basically a guess for most people.
But the sources we're looking at today provide concrete tour-level analytics for wind math that we can actually use.
Yes, and it is a strict percentage system. It is not a guessing game.
Yeah.
It's based on aerodynamics.
Yeah.
Let's look at a headwind first.
Yeah.
When you are hitting directly into the wind, you use the full wind speed number as a percentage. So if you have a 10-mile-per-hour headwind on a 150-yard shot, you add 10% to your distance.
So that shot now plays 165 yards.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. 10% of 150 is 15. So I add 15 yards. But wait, what if that exact same 10-mile-per-hour wind is directly at my back? I just subtract 15 yards, right? It plays 135.
No, and this is where so many golfers ruin their rounds. Downwind, you only use roughly half the wind number as a percentage.
Wait, half?
Yes. So a 10-mile-per-hour tailwind only reduces the distance by about 5%.
I am completely lost. Why on earth wouldn't a tailwind help me exactly as much as a headwind hurts me? I mean, wind is wind.
It comes down to the physics of lift and drag.
Okay.
A headwind increases the lift on the golf ball, which causes it to balloon up higher into the air. When it balloons, it loses its forward momentum and drops out of the sky at a much steeper, shorter angle.
Oh, so it just kind of falls straight down?
Right. But a tailwind actually reduces lift.
Yeah.
It flattens the trajectory of the ball. It pushes it forward a bit, yes, but because the ball isn't staying in the air as long, it doesn't gain nearly as much distance as it loses when hitting into the wind.
That asymmetrical math is incredible. If you just assume a 10-mile tailwind helps as much as a headwind hurts, you are going to fly the ball way past the pin or come up disastrously short.
And beyond the math, there's a crucial psychological element to wind. You have to stop reacting to the gusts.
Oh man, I am so guilty of this. I'll have an 8-iron pulled, a gust of wind hits my face, I panic, and I run back to my bag to grab a 7-iron.
Which is a fear-based decision.
Mm-hmm.
And fear always creates hesitant, poor swings. Elite players react to the average wind, not the spikes.
The average.
Right? You want to choose a club that covers the dispersion of the wind itself. If the wind drops completely, you might be a little long, but you're safe. If the wind spikes, you might be a little short, but you're safe. You pick the club that mathematically keeps your pattern on the grass, no matter what the breeze does.
That makes perfect sense. But let's be totally real here. Even with the perfect mental shift, the perfect target, and the exact wind math, misses are still going to happen. We are humans, not machines.
Absolutely.
You're still going to hit it in the trees. You're still going to find a fairway bunker. And what separates an elite player from a frustrated amateur is entirely about how they react in those moments.
It is the defining difference between containment and catastrophe.
If you look at the analytics of what actually derails a golf round, it's not a lack of birdies. It's a very specific list of scorecard destroyers.
Oh, the destroyers.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Double bogeys. Bogeys on par fives. Bogeys when you have a wedge in your hand from inside 150 yards. 3 putts. And my absolute least favorite, failed simple recoveries. You know, where you are chipping out of the trees, you hit another tree, and now you need a second chip just to get back to the fairway.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
But when you look at that list of scorecard destroyers, the fascinating thing is that none of those are caused by a lack of physical skill. Really. They are almost exclusively caused by compounding errors, making a bad decision immediately after hitting a bad shot.
Right. The secret to shooting lower scores isn't becoming a hero. It's stopping one mistake from becoming 3 mistakes. Honestly, it sounds like we need to stop thinking like athletes and start thinking like insurance actuaries.
That is brilliant because an actuary operates strictly on risk probability. And that is exactly what elite course management demands when you are in trouble. You have to use the recovery shot probability test.
How does that work?
Let's say you hit a drive deep into the woods. You have a tiny window through the branches toward the green. Do not ask yourself, am I physically capable of hitting this one miraculous shot?
Because maybe you can, like 1 out of 50 times.
Exactly. Instead, the actuary asks, can I hit this shot successfully 9 out of 10 times? And if I fail, what is the consequence?
And if the consequence of failing is that you hit a trunk, the ball bounces backward into deeper brush, and you literally can't swing your club, then you cannot afford to take the shot.
Exactly. If the failure brings a penalty or a second recovery shot into play, you have to take your medicine.
Yeah.
You pitch it out sideways, you return the ball safely to the fairway, you eliminate the scorecard destroyer, you contain the damage to a bogey instead of bringing a triple bogey into the picture.
And this cold mathematical mindset applies beautifully to par 5s as well. I have always been taught the old school advice, lay up to a yardage you are comfortable with.
The favorite number strategy.
Right. I love my 100-yard sand wedge. I hit it pure almost every time. So if I'm 260 yards away on a par 5, I'm going to hit a 160-yard shot just so I can leave myself exactly 100 yards. Why would I hit it closer if it leaves me an awkward 40-yard half wedge?
Because the geometry of the golf swing dictates that closer is almost always better. Think about the cone of dispersion we talked about earlier. As the ball travels further, that cone gets wider.
Okay.
A 5% error on a 100-yard shot means you miss your target by 5 yards. But a 5% error on a 40-yard shot means you only miss by 2 yards.
Okay, but 3 yards doesn't sound like a massive difference.
It might not sound like much, but 3 yards closer to the hole is the difference between a 10-foot birdie putt and a 19-foot birdie putt.
Oh, wow.
The make percentage on those 2 putts is drastically different. You want to squeeze out every single yard you can on a par 5 layup, with one massive caveat.
Which is?
You only advance the ball as long as getting that extra yardage doesn't bring bunkers, water, or severe rough into play. If hitting a shorter club completely removes all major trouble and still leaves a wedge, you take the shorter club.
So it's all about managing probability, which actually brings us to the ultimate graveyard for scorecards, a place heavily fueled by terrible traditional advice, the putting green.
Oh, the putting green.
We have to talk about putting because I want to call out one of the worst cliches in all of golf. How many times have you left a long putt a foot short of the hole and someone in your group cheerfully yells out, "Never up, never in"?
It is deeply ingrained in the culture of the game. The idea that leaving a putt short is some sort of moral failure.
But the physics of the hole completely destroys this logic. Always trying to blast the ball past the cup from long range is actively hurting your score, and it has to do with the capture width of the hole.
This is a really crucial concept. The physical hole is 4¼ inches wide. If a golf ball is rolling at the perfect dying speed as it reaches the cup, it can enter from any side. The effective capture width is the full 4¼ inches.
Right.
But if you hit a putt with too much speed, say a pace that would send it 3 feet past the hole, the ball will just ride over the lip and spin out unless it hits the dead center.
So by hitting it hard, you are effectively shrinking the size of the golf hole.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that the goal of a long putt isn't actually to make it. The goal of a 50-foot putt is to create an easy, stress-free second putt. Leaving it a foot short is a beautiful result because it means your speed control was centered on the hole itself, maximizing that capture width.
That makes so much sense.
And to help visualize this, modern analytics give us 2 brilliant metrics. First is the 10% rule.
I love this one because it's so simple. If you are 50 feet away and your first putt finishes within 5 feet of the hole, that is statistically a great putt. From 60 feet, finishing 6 feet away is a great result. It instantly resets your expectations.
It does. And the second metric takes it a step further. Speed ratio. You take the inches your putt finishes from the hole, and you divide it by the total length of the putt in feet.
Okay, walk me through that.
So if you hit a 30-foot putt, and you leave it 45 inches away, you divide 45 by 30, giving you a ratio of 1.5.
Okay, I can do that math on paper, but I can't do long division while I'm crouching on the green, reading a break. Practically, how do I visualize a 1.5 ratio? Why is that the golden standard?
Think of it as a 3-foot circle behind the hole. A 1.5 ratio means the ball is dying right at the cup, and if it misses, it's not rolling more than a foot or two past. Tracking that ratio in your practice takes the emotion out of it.
Because you're just looking at the math?
Right. You aren't judging your lag putting based on whether the ball miraculously dropped. You are judging it on whether your speed control was mathematically sound enough to guarantee a 2-putt.
Because emotion is the real enemy on the greens. Especially when we talk about short putts. The analytics on make rates from close range are incredibly sobering. We watch the pros on TV, and 3-footers look completely automatic.
And statistically, they basically are.
But by the time you step back to just an 8-foot putt, what do you think the make percentage is for a PGA Tour pro?
It is essentially a 50-50 coin flip,
An 8-footer. Half the time, the best players on earth miss it.
which completely shifts how you manage your own emotions. If you mentally accept that an 8-footer is only going to drop half the time, missing one stops feeling like a tragic personal failure. It's not a breakdown of your skill, it's just statistical variance.
It stops the emotional spiral. We all know that feeling. You miss a 7-footer for par, you angrily tap in for bogey because you think you, quote-unquote, should have made it. Your blood is boiling, your heart rate spikes.
You march to the tee box.
You angrily pull out a driver when there's water everywhere, and suddenly that bogey turns into a triple bogey.
Expectation management is a dam that stops a normal mistake from flooding the rest of your round.
So, managing your own mind is clearly half the battle here. But you also have to realize that you aren't just fighting yourself out there. The person who designed the golf course is actively trying to break your discipline. Course architecture is basically psychological warfare.
Oh, absolutely. A truly brilliant golf hole doesn't need to be surrounded by water to punish you. It uses angles, visual tricks, and subtle consequences to tempt you into making bad mathematical decisions.
The analytics on light rough perfectly illustrate this. We usually think of the rough as just a place where the ball is buried and hard to hit. But what about light rough, where the ball is sitting up on the grass and looks perfectly playable?
That's deceiving.
It turns out light rough is engineered to introduce pure chaos.
It's known as the flyer effect.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a tour level 7-iron. The grooves on that club face are engineered to grip the urethane cover of the golf ball, creating friction that spins the ball at exactly 7,000 RPM so it stops on a dime when it hits the green.
Okay.
But when you are in light rough, as you swing through, a few blades of grass get trapped between the club face and the ball.
That grass acts like a lubricant. It completely kills the friction.
Exactly. You might make a physically flawless swing, but because of those blades of grass, the ball doesn't spin at 7,000 RPM. It spins at 3,000.
Wow.
It launches higher, it carries further, it hits the green, and instead of stopping, it just aggressively bounds forward over the back edge into terrible trouble.
And because you can't predict exactly how much grass will get trapped, the resulting distance is completely unpredictable. Good architecture lets you find your ball in the light rough, but it forces you to manage that chaos, which leads right into what has to be the ultimate golden rule of elite course management. 4 words. Play aggressively to conservative targets.
It is the mantra of elite golf. You pick a target that honors your messy dispersion pattern, a conservative target, away from the hazards.
Yeah.
But once you pick it, you make a fully aggressive, confident swing at that safe target.
Right.
You cannot aim safely at the middle of the green, but secretly, in the back of your mind, try to steer the ball toward a tucked pin. Secretly hoping for a miss creates a non-committed, hesitant swing.
To put all of this together, elite players use a 6-step core strategy system. And rather than just listing these steps out, let's actually put them into practice. Let's play a hypothetical hole.
All right, let's do it.
I'm standing in the fairway. I'm 160 yards out. The pin is tucked aggressively on the right side of the green, hovering right over a deep bunker. Walk me through the system.
All right, step 1 is distance. You don't just look at the 160 yards. You factor in that it's uphill and into a headwind. You do the percentage math we talked about. Your true playing distance is 175 yards.
Okay, step 2.
Step 2 is expectation. You have a 6-iron in your hand. You remind yourself that from 175 yards, hitting it to 30 feet is a statistically fantastic shot. You aren't trying to hit it to 3 feet.
Okay, true distance dialed in, ego checked. What's step 3?
Step 3 is the correct target. Because the pin is tucked right over a bunker, and you know your dispersion pattern with a 6-iron is wide, you aim 20 feet left of the flag, dead center of the green.
Got it.
Step 4 is analyze. You double-check your lie. Are you in that light rough that might cause a flyer? You confirm the firmness of the green.
And step 5 has to be the hardest one, discipline.
It is. Step 5 is discipline. You look at that flag flapping on the right side and you actively ignore it. You refuse the architect's temptation. You commit entirely to your safe target on the left.
And then?
Finally, step 6, execute. You step up and make a fully committed, aggressive swing at the center of the green.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, looking at those 6 steps, step 2, expectation, that really feels like the linchpin that holds the whole psychological framework together.
Without a doubt. The expectation step is where the game actually unlocks for people. Golf becomes so much easier and, frankly, so much more enjoyable when you stop demanding perfect outcomes from your inherently imperfect swing.
So what does this all mean for you listening? It means taking your ego out of your golf bag and replacing it with reality. It means understanding that you don't need a flawless swing to shoot lower scores. You just need a better system.
Exactly.
You use the width of the course off the tee. You do the cold, hard, asymmetrical math on the wind. You realize that a lag putt is just about maximizing the capture width of the hole. You ruthlessly avoid scorecard destroyers by playing the probabilities, not the heroics.
It's just smart golf.
You take this strategic, emotionless mindset into your very next round, and you let the statistics work for you instead of fighting against them.
Ultimately, you stop playing golf swing and you finally start playing golf.
I love that. So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over before your next tee time. The next time you sit down on a Sunday afternoon to watch an elite PGA Tour event on TV, try an experiment. Do not just stare at their flawless, beautiful swing mechanics. Anybody can swing well when things are going perfectly.
Very true.
Instead, watch where they aim when they are struggling. Watch the exact conservative target they pick when they are out of position. Watch how calmly they accept an 8-foot miss or tap in for bogey without throwing a club. When you start watching for that, you might just realize they aren't playing a physical game of golf at all. They are playing a brilliant, beautiful game of emotional geometry.